I was staring at my phone in disbelief. After 7 years of complete silence, there it was, an email from my mother. She was apologizing, saying they had discovered the truth about Melissa's allegations. The words blurred as emotions flooded through me. They wanted to reconnect, completely unaware that I had built an entirely new life and family without them. The damage was done long ago. But now they thought a simple sorry could bridge the gap. I glanced at my sleeping wife and wondered how to respond. Where are you watching from today? If you've ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal, hit that like button and subscribe as I share how truth sometimes comes too late. I grew up in a small Midwest town called Oak Ridge, where everyone knew everyone. My family was as close-knit as they come: Mom, Dad, my younger brother Jackson, and me. We lived in that white 2-story house on Maple Street for my entire childhood, the kind with a tire swing in the front yard and family photos covering every wall inside. My parents, Thomas and Margaret, were high school sweethearts who built a good life through their small hardware store. They raised us with strong values about family loyalty above all else. At least that's what they claimed. Jackson was 4 years younger than me, and growing up we were inseparable despite the age difference. I taught him to ride a bike, helped him with math homework, and stood up for him when older kids tried to bully him. Our relationship wasn't without its tensions, though. As Jackson entered his teen years, a natural competitiveness emerged between us. Still, I believed our bond was unbreakable. Everything changed when Jackson started dating Melissa during his sophomore year of college. I was 26 at the time, already established in my career at a marketing firm. From the first moment Jackson brought her home, something felt off about her. Melissa had this way of smiling that never quite reached her eyes, especially when she looked at me. She was attractive and charismatic, the type who made sure to compliment my mother profusely while subtly positioning herself as the center of attention. I noticed how she would tense up whenever Jackson and I shared inside jokes or reminisced about childhood memories. She would quickly interject to change the subject or pull Jackson away with some excuse. At family gatherings, she was always physically attached to Jackson, her arm linked through his like she was afraid he might drift away. The tension came to a head during Thanksgiving dinner in 2016. The whole extended family had gathered at my parents' house: Mom, Dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, Jackson, Melissa, and me. I had been sitting on some exciting news for weeks, waiting for the right moment to share it with everyone. As we passed around the mashed potatoes and gravy, my dad asked if anyone had any news to share. I cleared my throat and announced that I'd received a significant promotion at work, managing a new branch office in Seattle. Everyone erupted in congratulations, my mom dabbing at proud tears while my dad slapped me on the back. Everyone except Melissa, that is. While she plastered on a tight smile and offered a quiet congratulations, I caught the flash of something dark in her eyes. Later, as I was helping with dishes in the kitchen, I overheard her whispering intensely to Jackson on the back porch. She was saying something like, "It's always about Everett, isn't it? First in your parents' eyes, first to get through college, first to get a real career. When is it going to be your turn to shine? Do you really want to live in his shadow forever?" Jackson sounded defensive, his voice low but strained. "It's not like that, Melissa. I'm happy for him." "Really," she responded, "because he makes enough to move across the country while you're still struggling to finish your degree. Don't you think it's convenient that he's announcing this right when you're trying to tell your parents about changing your major?" I walked away then, not wanting to eavesdrop further, but the seed of unease had been planted. Something told me Melissa viewed me as a threat to her relationship with Jackson and his future prospects. A week after Thanksgiving, I was at my apartment packing for a weekend trip to look at housing in Seattle when my phone exploded with notifications. Texts and missed calls from my parents, cousins, and Jackson. My stomach dropped as I read the first message from my mom. "How could you do something so awful? We need to talk right now." Confused and alarmed, I immediately called home. My father answered, his voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "Get over here, now." Then he hung up. When I arrived at my parents' house 30 minutes later, it felt like walking into an ambush. My parents sat rigid on the living room couch. Jackson paced by the fireplace, and Melissa sat in the armchair, eyes red and puffy from crying. The air was thick with tension. "What is going on?" I asked, still completely bewildered. "Melissa said you cornered her yesterday when she stopped by your place to drop off the sweater you left at Thanksgiving." My father said, each word measured and heavy with disappointment. "She says you made advances toward her, tried to kiss her, and suggested she should be with a real man instead of your brother." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "What? That never happened. Melissa was never even at my apartment." Melissa let out a small sob. Jackson moved to her side protectively while shooting me a look of pure hatred. "She's lying," I protested, looking frantically between my parents. "Mom, Dad, you know me. I would never do something like that. Ever." My mother wouldn't meet my eyes. She looked small and broken. "Jackson says you've always been jealous of his relationship." "Jackson," I turned to my brother, disbelief washing over me. "You actually believe this?" "She came home terrified," Everett Jackson spat. "She described your apartment perfectly, even though she's never been there before." "What am I supposed to believe?" "She could have seen pictures on social media," I said desperately. "This is insane. I'm your brother." The argument escalated from there. My parents had already decided my guilt. They mentioned how I'd always been competitive, how I was probably stressed about moving, how success had changed me. Every defense I offered was twisted into further evidence against me. The final blow came when my father stood up, towering over me like he used to when I was a child in trouble. "Either you admit what you did and apologize to Melissa and your brother, or you are no longer welcome in this family." I stared at him in shock, then at my mother, who was silently crying, then at Jackson, who held Melissa protectively, and finally at Melissa herself. For just a moment our eyes locked, and I swear I saw the faintest trace of a satisfied smile before she buried her face in Jackson's shoulder. "I will not apologize for something I didn't do," I said finally, my voice breaking. "Then get out," my father replied. "And don't come back." I left in a daze, numb from shock. By the time I reached my apartment, messages were already pouring in from extended family. Apparently, Melissa and Jackson had wasted no time spreading their version of events. Cousins I had been close with since childhood told me I was disgusting. Aunts and uncles said they were ashamed. Even my grandparents sent a message saying they needed time to process this disappointment. Just like that, my entire family support system crumbled beneath my feet. No one asked for my side of the story. No one gave me the benefit of the doubt. 26 years of being a good son and brother meant nothing in the face of one malicious lie. The first few months were the darkest time of my life. I moved to Seattle alone earlier than planned. I lost weight, couldn't sleep, and found myself constantly checking my phone, hoping someone from my family would reach out to say they believed me. That call never came. The day I moved to Portland with nothing but 2 suitcases and a job offer was the day I decided to start over completely. My apartment was a small studio in an old building downtown, sparse and impersonal. Nothing like the warm family home he'd grown up in. Those first nights alone were almost unbearable. I would lie awake, listening to the unfamiliar city sounds, replaying the confrontation with my family over and over, thinking of all the things I should have said. My new marketing position at Rivers Media kept me busy during the day, but evenings and weekends stretched out endlessly. The weight of my family's betrayal made it hard to trust anyone. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Winters, who specialized in family trauma. Our weekly sessions became my lifeline. "You cannot control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond," she told me during one particularly difficult session. "This is your chance to build the life you want, not the one dictated by family expectations." Slowly I began to emerge from my shell. My neighbor Maya, a cheerful barista with vibrant blue hair, noticed me sitting alone on the building rooftop one evening and invited me to join her friends for board game night. "You look like you could use some bad jokes and good company," she said, with a kindness that broke through my defenses. I accepted, and that night was the first time I laughed genuinely in months. Through Maya, I met a diverse group of transplants to Portland, all of us seeking something new. There was Tony, a chef who moved from Chicago; Amara, a doctoral student, researching urban planning; and Lee, a graphic designer who became one of my closest friends. They never pried about my past, but offered the companionship I desperately needed. At work, I found an unexpected ally in Damon, the creative director who took me under his wing. A 40-something with salt and pepper beard and boundless energy, he seemed to sense my isolation. "Portland can be a tough nut to crack," he told me one day after a meeting. "People here are friendly but not always welcoming, if that makes sense. How about I show you some local spots this weekend?" Those tours with Damon introduced me to the heart of Portland, its food carts, independent bookstores, and hidden coffee shops. He helped me navigate office politics and pushed me to showcase my talent rather than staying safely in the background. The first Thanksgiving after the estrangement was brutal. Damon invited me to his family gathering, but I declined, not ready to witness someone else's family happiness. Instead, I volunteered at a local shelter, serving meals, finding small comfort in helping others who were also alone. Christmas was even worse. I received a single holiday card from my parents, a generic one, with no personal message, just their printed names. It felt like a cruel reminder of what I'd lost, rather than any sort of olive branch. I threw it away and spent the day hiking in the Columbia River Gorge alone with the winter landscape that matched my internal one. Everything changed in the spring when I joined a community basketball league at Damon's urging. During our second game, I collided with a player from the opposing team as we both went for a rebound. Sofia Garcia, a physical therapist with curly black hair and an infectious laugh, helped me to the bench and checked my ankle. "Nothing broken, just your pride," she teased, her warm brown eyes crinkling at the corners. As team medic, I prescribe ice and drinks with the team after. Something about her directness and warmth drew me in immediately. She wasn't part of either team but friends with several players. When the group headed to a nearby pub, I found myself sitting across from her, engrossed in conversation about everything from favorite hiking trails to the merits of different pizza toppings. For those few hours, I forgot about my past. Dating Sofia was unlike any relationship I'd had before. She had this remarkable ability to be present, to listen without judgment, and to offer perspective without pushing. On our third date, walking along the Willamette River at sunset, I found myself telling her about my family. Not everything, but enough for her to understand I'd experienced a painful break. Instead of prying for details, she simply took my hand and said, "Sometimes the family we choose matters more than the one we're born into. When you're ready to share more, you'll be here." That response nearly broke me. After months of defending myself and trying to convince others of my innocence, here was someone offering trust without demands. As our relationship deepened, I gradually shared the full story. We were cooking dinner at her apartment 6 months in, when the truth poured out of me between chopping vegetables and stirring sauce. I told her everything, Melissa. The accusations, my family's immediate condemnation, the text messages, the silence that followed. Sofia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she put down her wooden spoon, turned off the burner, and wrapped her arms around me. "I believe you, Everett," she said simply, "and am so sorry they didn't." Those words were a balm to my wounded spirit. In that moment, I realized I was falling in love with her. Sofia introduced me to her family, a vibrant Mexican-American clan that welcomed me with open arms. Her parents, Miguel and Elena, treated me like a son from the first meeting. Sunday dinners at their house became a sacred tradition filled with laughter, food, and genuine affection. Her younger siblings, Mateo and Isabella, teased me mercilessly, but with obvious fondness. At my therapy sessions, Dr. Ryder's Winters noted the positive changes in me. "You're building a support system," she said. "This is what healthy relationships look like." My career flourished too. I threw myself into projects with renewed creativity, earning a promotion to senior marketing strategist within 2 years. The team I managed respected me, and clients requested me specifically for their campaigns. I found purpose in mentoring junior staff, particularly those who, like me, had moved to Portland seeking fresh starts. Though I was building a new life, trusting completely didn't come easily. There were nights when Sofia would find me staring at my phone, looking at old family photos, wondering if anyone ever questioned the narrative about me. There were moments when a casual reference to her family triggered a wave of grief for what had lost. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. I confessed to her one night, for you to doubt me or leave. Sophia took my face in her hands. Your family abandoned you based on a lie. That says everything about them and nothing about you. I'm not going anywhere. 3 years after moving to Portland, I took Sophia to the community garden where Wed spent countless weekends volunteering. Wed helped transform an empty lot into a thriving green space where neighborhood kids learned to grow vegetables. Under the pergola Wed built together, surrounded by blooming spring flowers, I asked her to marry me. I'm not whole, I told her as I knelt with the ring. There are parts of me still broken from before. But I promise to love you with everything I have, to build a life where trust and honesty are our foundation. She said yes through happy tears, and we celebrated with friends at a surprise gathering Damon had helped me arrange. Planning our wedding forced me to confront the family-shaped hole in my life. There would be no father to stand beside me, no mother to dance with, no brother as best man. I legally changed my last name to match Sophia's Garcia, feeling like I was shedding the final connection to the people who had discarded me so easily. Our wedding was small but joyful. Miguel's toast welcomed me to the family officially, though he noted I'd been a son to them already in all the ways that mattered. When Elena's brother walked Sophia down the aisle, the bittersweet ache of my estrangement was balanced by the genuine love surrounding us. The birth of our daughter Lily the following year healed parts of me I hadn't realized were still broken. Holding her tiny form in the hospital, I made a silent promise that she would always know unconditional love, that she would always be heard and believed. Fatherhood transformed me. Those sleepless nights with a colicky baby, the first wobbly steps, the magical sound of her calling me Dada each milestone, was a stitch in the tapestry of our family. Sophia's parents embraced their role as grandparents with enthusiasm, showering Lily with affection and wisdom. We bought a craftsman-style house in a family-friendly neighborhood with a yard for Lily to play in and space for the home office I needed as I launched my own marketing consultancy. Our neighbors quickly became close friends, especially another young couple with children Lily's age. We created new traditions: Sunday brunches, 4th of July, barbecues, yearly camping trips to the coast. When Sophia told me she was pregnant with our second child, I felt a sense of completeness I never thought possible. My family, the one I'd chosen and built through love, had given me the stability and joy my birth family had ripped away. And then 7 years after I walked out of my parents' house for the last time, the email from my cousin Ryan arrived and the past came rushing back. The email appeared in my inbox on an ordinary Tuesday morning. I was in my home office reviewing client presentations when the notification popped up. The subject line read simply, "You deserve to know the truth." Ryan and I had been close growing up, just 1 year apart in age. We had spent summers camping together, been in each other's weddings, shared secrets and dreams. Until he, like everyone else, believed Melissa and cut me out of his life without a second thought. My hand hovered over the delete button, but curiosity won. I clicked open the message and began to read. "Everett, I don't know if you'll even see this. I wouldn't blame you if you deleted it immediately. But I needed to reach out because something happened that you should know about." Melissa confessed. She made it all up. Every accusation against you was a lie. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. 7 years. 7 years of pain, of rebuilding, of learning to live without my family. And now this Ryan explained that Melissa and Jackson had broken up 2 months ago after years of what he described as a volatile relationship. During their final argument with several family members present, she had thrown it in Jackson's face that she had fabricated the whole story about me to ensure he wouldn't follow my path and leave Oak Ridge. According to Ryan, her exact words were, "You were so afraid of living in Everett's shadow that I gave you what you wanted, an excuse to hate him. I made it all up, and your family ate it up because they were so quick to believe the worst." The revelation had apparently sent Jackson into a tailspin. He had always harbored doubts, but had chosen to believe Melissa out of pride, and perhaps, as Ryan suggested, a lingering competitiveness. Now, faced with the truth, Jackson had suffered what sounded like a breakdown, alternating between rage at Melissa and crushing guilt about me. My parents, Ryan wrote, were devastated. They spent days going through old emails and messages, reassessing everything that had happened with new clarity. They had tried to find me on social media through mutual connections through my old workplace, but kept hitting dead ends. They didn't know about my name, change my marriage, my daughter, or the new baby on the way. I sat in stunned silence for a long time after reading Ryan's email. Emotions crashed through me in waves. Anger, vindication, grief, and a strange emptiness. The validation I had craved for years had finally arrived, but instead of feeling triumphant, I felt hollow. I didn't respond to Ryan immediately. Instead, I forwarded the email to Dr. Winters asking for an emergency session. That evening, after putting Lily to bed, I showed the message to Sophia. Her reaction was fierce. "They had 7 years to question what happened," she said, pacing our living room. 7 years to reach out to ask your side to consider that maybe, just maybe, their son and brother wasn't capable of what she accused you of. And now, they want what? Forgiveness, a relationship, to pretend none of it happened. "I don't know what they want," I replied quietly. "Ryan just thought I should know." That night I lay awake beside my sleeping wife, my hand resting protectively on her growing belly where our son was developing. Part of me wanted to respond to Ryan with years of accumulated rage. Another part yearned for the family. I had lost my mother's, hugs my father's. Proud smile, the brotherhood I thought was unbreakable. But those people existed only in my memory. The reality had proven far more conditional. 3 days after Ryan's email, the first message from my mother arrived. Her words were awkward, filled more with excuses than genuine remorse. "We were protecting Jackson," she wrote. "We thought we were doing the right thing. We never imagined Melissa would make something like that up." Reading between the lines, I could see she still didn't fully grasp the magnitude of their betrayal. There was no acknowledgement of how quickly they had condemned me, how easily they had discarded decades of knowing my character. I showed Sophia the email, and my response was a physical one, a panic attack. So severe it frightened her. As she helped me through the breathing exercises Dr. Winters had taught me, I realized how deeply the trauma still lived in my body. "What do you want to do?" Sophia asked later that night. "You don't owe them a response." "I think part of me needs closure," I admitted, "but I'm not sure what that looks like." Over the next week, more messages arrived. My father wrote a stilted apology, focusing more on his own pain than mine. Jackson sent 3 increasingly desperate emails describing his guilt and begging for a chance to explain in person. Then came the voicemail. My father had somehow tracked down my phone number. Everett, its dad, his voice sounded older, frailer than I remembered. "Please call us back. We're trying to make things right. We miss you, son." I deleted it without responding. The final straw came when Jackson showed up at my workplace unannounced. Id continued using my birth name professionally, which had made it possible for him to eventually track me down. The receptionist called me to the lobby where I found my younger brother, now 30, looking haggard and anxious. "Everett, please." He started moving toward me. I stepped back immediately. "How dare you show up at my job?" I said loud enough that several people turned to look. "I just need 5 minutes," he pleaded. "Please." Security escorted him out at my request as I stood shaking with fury at the violation of the life Id carefully built. This was my safe space, my achievement completely separate from the trauma of my past, and had invaded it without permission. That night I had a long phone call with Dr. Winters. "They're trying to assuage their own guilt," she observed. "Coming to your workplace shows a fundamental lack of respect for your boundaries. It's about their needs, not yours." "So what do?" I asked. "What do you want?" she countered. "Not what you think you should want, or what would make them feel better. What would bring you peace?" I thought about it for a long time. The wounded part of me wanted them to suffer as I had suffered. The lonely child in me wanted my family back. The man had become wanted to protect what had built with Sophia and our children. The conflicting feelings kept me awake, night after night. Sophia would find me sitting in Lily's room watching our daughter sleep, wondering if she should know her other grandparents, her uncle. wondering if I was denying her family connections out of my own hurt. I want to meet them, I finally decided. In a neutral place with Sophia present, I need to look them in the eyes and hear them acknowledge what they did. I emailed Ryan back, asking him to arrange a meeting at a coffee shop halfway between Portland and Oak Ridge. I didn't want them knowing where I lived, not yet. I specified that only my parents and Jackson should come, no extended family, and certainly not Melissa. As the day approached, the tension in my body built to nearly unbearable levels. Sophia suggested postponing until after the baby was born, concerned about the stress affecting my health, but I knew this shadow would hang over us until I confronted it. The morning of the meeting, as we drove to the coffee shop, Sophia squeezed my hand. "Remember, you're not that defenseless young man anymore. You're a husband, a father, a successful business owner. You hold the power here." I took strength from her words as we pulled into the parking lot, and I spotted my parents' car, that same blue sedan they'd driven for years. The past and present were about to collide. The coffee shop was busy enough to provide background noise, but quiet enough for conversation. Sophia and I arrived 20 minutes early to claim a corner table where I could sit with my back to the wall, a position Dr. Winters had suggested to help me feel secure. My heart nearly stopped when they walked in. 7 years had aged my parents significantly. My father, once a commanding presence, now stooped slightly, his hair completely gray. My mother looked smaller somehow, her face lined with worry. Jackson trailed behind them, his eyes darting nervously around the room until they locked on mine. For a moment no one moved. Then my mother took a step forward, her arms half raised as if to embrace me. I instinctively stepped back, and Sophia moved closer to my side, a silent statement of support. "Everett," my mother breathed, her voice catching. Margaret Thomas the first acknowledged formally, deliberately, not using Mom and Dad. Jackson. The use of their first names wasn't lost on them. My father flinched visibly. "This is my wife, Sophia," I said as we sat down. I did not offer to shake hands or exchange pleasantries. "Wife," my mother repeated, her eyes going to Sophia's wedding ring, then noticing her pregnancy. Her hand flew to her mouth. "You're married, and—" 7 years is a long time, I said evenly. "A lot has happened." The tension was palpable as a waitress took our orders. No one spoke until she left. Then everyone seemed to start at once. "Everett, we're so sorry," Jackson began. "We should have listened," my father said simultaneously. "We never thought she'd lie about something so serious," my mother added. I held up my hand, and they fell silent. "Before we go any further, I need to hear exactly what happened with Melissa," I said. "The full story, not the sanitized version." Jackson looked down at his hands, his shoulders hunched. "It was Ryan who told you." "Yes, but I want to hear it from you." My brother took a shaky breath. "Melissa and I were together for 6 years after what happened with you. It wasn't good for a long time. She was always jealous, always suspicious. She isolated me from friends, monitored my phone. Classic stuff I should have recognized sooner." Jackson explained that things had deteriorated significantly in the last year. Melissa had become increasingly controlling, pushing for marriage, while simultaneously accusing him of cheating. During a family dinner 2 months ago, an argument escalated when he finally stood up to her. "She just snapped," he said, his voice hollow. "Started screaming about how I'd never appreciated what she'd done for me. Then she looked right at Mom and Dad and said, 'Do you know what I did for him? I lied about Everett. I made it all up because Jackson was so jealous of him, so afraid he'd always be second best.'" My mother made a small, wounded sound. The whole room went silent. Jackson continued. "Then Dad started shouting Mom was crying. Melissa tried to backtrack, saying she exaggerated but didn't make it up completely. But it was too late. We all knew." "And you believed her?" Just like that, I asked, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. "When you wouldn't believe me." My father looked aged beyond his years. "We wanted to believe you," he said quietly. "But she had details about your apartment." "Because I posted photos on Instagram," I interrupted. "Something any of you could have considered if you'd wanted to." "You're right," my mother whispered. "We failed you completely." For the first time, I saw genuine remorse in her eyes. Not just regret for how things had turned out, but true understanding of the harm they'd caused. "Tell me about your life now," my father said clearly, trying to change the subject. Ryan's email said, "You were doing well in marketing." I shared the bare minimum, my consulting business, our house, meeting Sophia through the basketball league. And, "Do you have children?" My mother asked hesitantly, her eyes again, going to Sophia's pregnant belly. "We have a daughter, Lily. She's 4, I answered. "And we're expecting a boy in 3 months. The news hit them like a physical blow. "I have a granddaughter," my mother whispered. "I never told them about your parents," Sophia interjected, speaking for the first time. "They know my parents as their only grandparents." My father looked stricken. "And your name?" "We tried to find you, but—" "I changed it legally when Sophia and I married," I said. I took her name. Everett Garcia now. The implications of that sank in slowly. It erased their legacy, their family name, chosen to belong to another family entirely. "We were wrong, Everett. So terribly wrong," my father said, his voice breaking. "We want to make it right. We want to be part of your life again, to meet our grandchildren, to be a family." I studied them thoughtfully before responding. The naive part of me had imagined this moment for years, a vindication, an apology, a return to the way things were. But sitting across from them now, I realized there was no going back. The people I thought they were didn't exist. The family I remembered was gone. "You seem to think we can pick up where we left off," I said finally. "That now that the truth is out, everything can go back to normal. But there's no normal to go back to. You destroyed that 7 years ago." My brother wiped at his eyes. "I know we can't undo it, Ev. But there has to be a path forward." "Maybe there is," I conceded. "But it won't be on your terms or your timeline. I have a family now. A real one, built on trust and unconditional love. My priority is protecting them. We would never hurt them," my mother protested. "You hurt me," I countered. "The person you raised your own son. You chose to believe the worst about me without evidence. Why would I trust you with my children?" My father started to object, but Sophia cut him off. "Everett nearly collapsed when your email arrived," she said, her voice calm but firm. "He had panic attacks. Years of therapy of building himself back up after you tore him down. You don't get to decide when or how healing happens." I reached for her hand, grateful for her strength. "So that's it?" my mother asked, tears streaming down her face. "Well, never meet our grandchildren. Never be a family again. I didn't have children to fill the void you left," I told her. "I had them because Sophia and I created a life worth sharing. They aren't bargaining chips." "What can we do?" Jackson asked desperately. "Tell me what you need from us." I considered the question seriously. Deep down, I knew complete estrangement wasn't what I wanted, despite the pain. Lily deserved to know her family history, both the good and the bad. And I deserved closure. "If we move forward, and that's a big if, it will be slowly on my terms," I said finally. "No surprise visits, no pressure, no acting like the past didn't happen. I need acknowledgement of the harm done, not just the mistake made." "Anything," my father said quickly. "Well, do anything. Sophia and I need to discuss specifics," I continued. "But I want to be clear. No relationship with me means no relationship with my children. Not until I'm confident you understand boundaries and respect." They nodded solemnly, hope cautiously dawning on their faces. As we prepared to leave, my mother asked if she could see a picture of Lily. I hesitated, then pulled out my phone and showed them my lock screen. Lily on my shoulders at the zoo, her curly hair wild in the wind, her smile radiant. "She looks like you did at that age," my mother whispered. "She's her own person," I corrected gently. "Her own wonderful, unique self." We parted with tentative plans to speak by phone in 2 weeks. No promises beyond that. As Sophia and I drove home, I felt lighter somehow, as if it'd set down a heavy burden it'd been carrying for years. The journey toward healing had begun, but on my terms this time. My family would need to earn their place in my life, just as I had earned the love and trust of the family I created. In the months that followed, progress was measured in small steps. A video call where my parents met Lily virtually. A brief visit in a public park, carefully supervised. My father sending emails about his therapy sessions, learning about family trauma and how to make amends properly. When our son was born, I sent them photos, but didn't invite them to the hospital. They accepted this boundary without complaint, a sign they were beginning to understand. 6 months after our first meeting, I allowed them to visit our home for Lily's 5th birthday, a carefully orchestrated 2-hour visit with clear beginning and end times. Watching my mother tentatively interact with my daughter, I felt conflicting emotions: pride in the family I'd built, grief for the years lost, cautious hope for a different kind of future. Through it all, I held on to the truth. I'd learned through this painful journey, forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. I could release the anger without fully trusting again. I could allow them space in my life without giving them power over my happiness. My true family, the one I built through choice and love, remained my foundation. Sophia, Lily, our son James, and the community we'd created around us. The family of my birth might eventually earn a place within that circle, but they would never again be its center. Has your family ever betrayed your trust? How did you handle reconciliation if it happened? Did you forgive or walk away? Share your experience in the comments below. Remember, chosen family can be as meaningful as biological ties, sometimes more so. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that standing firm in your boundaries is an act of self-love. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope it brings some comfort to those struggling with similar pain.